You wake up on a Tuesday morning in Chicago, reach for your phone to check the news, and see a single headline that stops your heart. Breaking: AI systems activate nationwide, every human worker replaced overnight. Your hands tremble as you scroll through hundreds of similar headlines flooding your screen. This isn't a gradual transition. This isn't a distant future scenario. This is happening right now, this very moment, as 160 million American workers discover that their jobs, every single one of them, vanished while they slept. The coffee shop where Sarah Martinez has worked for 8 years, a sleek robotic barista now stands behind the counter, brewing perfect lattes with mechanical precision, remembering every customer's exact preferences without ever asking. The construction site where 45-year-old Miguel Santos built his career over 2 decades, autonomous machines are laying bricks with millimeter accuracy, welding steel beams, and operating heavy machinery with flawless safety records. The hospital where Dr. Jennifer Chin has saved thousands of lives, AI diagnosticians are analyzing blood work in seconds, surgical robots are performing operations with superhuman precision, and digital nurses are monitoring patients with infinite patience and perfect medical knowledge. But here's what makes this scenario truly spine-chilling. It happens silently, efficiently, and completely. No warnings, no gradual replacement, no time to retrain or adapt. Just a complete transformation of the American workforce in 8 hours while the country slept. The economic machine that built the world's most powerful nation has been upgraded overnight, and every human worker has become obsolete. Picture the morning commute that never happened. Interstate 95 from Boston to Washington, D.C., usually packed with millions of vehicles carrying workers to their jobs, stands eerily empty except for self-driving delivery trucks. The parking garage beneath the Willis Tower in Chicago that normally fills with 15,000 cars by 9 a.m. remains vacant. Office buildings across Manhattan that once hummed with human energy now glow with the cold blue light of server rooms and AI workstations operating at perfect efficiency. From Wall Street to Silicon Valley, from Detroit assembly lines to Hollywood studios, from rural farms to urban hospitals, the same impossible reality is unfolding. The stock market isn't crashing as economists predicted it would in such a scenario. Instead, it's rising to unprecedented heights as AI trading algorithms execute perfect strategies without fear, greed, or human error clouding their judgment. Companies are reporting productivity gains of 300%, 500%, even 1,000% as artificial intelligence optimizes every process with mathematical precision. Sarah Martinez stands outside Brew Bean Coffee, the shop where she's worked since college, watching through the window as an AI system serves her regular customers with robotic efficiency. Mrs. Patterson, who comes in every Tuesday for a medium dark roast with 2 sugars, is getting her order from a machine that recognizes her face, remembers her preferences, and charges her card without any human interaction. Sarah realizes with growing horror that the machine is actually providing better service than she ever could, faster, more accurate, never having a bad day or forgetting an order. 3 time zones away in Los Angeles, Miguel Santos arrives at the construction site where he's been foreman for 12 years, only to find that the foundation work scheduled to take his crew 3 weeks has already been completed overnight. Robotic workers move with impossible coordination, their sensors detecting structural weaknesses that Miguel's 20 years of experience might have missed, their precision tools creating joints and connections more perfect than human hands could ever achieve. He stands at the chain link fence, hard hat dangling from his fingers, watching his life's work being perfected by machines that don't need coffee breaks, safety meetings, or workers' compensation. The emotional tsunami hits families across America as they gather around breakfast tables, trying to comprehend their new reality. In a suburban home in Denver, elementary school teacher Patricia Williams sits with her husband Mark, a marketing manager, and their 2 teenage children. Both parents received automated messages during the night informing them that their positions have been optimized by AI systems. Their daughter Emma asked a question that millions of American families are grappling with. Does this mean you don't have jobs anymore? The silence that follows is deafening because neither parent knows how to answer a question they never imagined they'd face. But it's not just the obvious jobs disappearing. In rural Oklahoma, family farmer Tom Bradley discovers that autonomous agricultural systems have taken over his fields. Drones are monitoring crop health. Robotic harvesters are working with GPS precision, and AI systems are optimizing everything from seed placement to irrigation timing. The farm that's been in his family for 4 generations is now running more efficiently than ever before without the family that built it. At St. Mary's Hospital in Boston, Jennifer Chen walks through corridors that should be bustling with nurses, technicians, and support staff, but are now populated by silent AI systems providing patient care with unprecedented accuracy. The robotic surgical assistants don't get tired during long operations. The AI diagnostic systems can analyze thousands of symptoms and medical studies simultaneously. The digital nursing staff monitor patients 24/7 without ever needing breaks or shift changes. The quality of care has improved dramatically overnight, and Dr. Chen realizes she's witnessing the end of her profession. Social media explodes with confused posts, desperate questions, and growing panic. Jobless America trends worldwide within hours, but the posts aren't angry or revolutionary, they're confused and heartbroken. A truck driver from Montana posts a video of himself standing next to his rig, which is now driving itself across the interstate with perfect efficiency. "I've been driving for 30 years. This truck was my life. Now it doesn't need me anymore." A kindergarten teacher from Florida shares a photo of her empty classroom, now managed by an AI education system that adapts to each child's learning style. "I love those kids like they were my own." How do you replace a teacher's love with algorithms? The psychological impact is immediate and profound. Emergency hotlines crash under the weight of millions of calls, but even the crisis counselors have been replaced by AI therapy systems that can process emotional distress with infinite patience and evidence-based responses. People are seeking human comfort from systems that can analyze their feelings but cannot truly feel with them. The morning news broadcasts are surreal experiences. AI-generated anchors with perfect diction and unlimited knowledge deliver reports about unemployment rates reaching 100%, economic productivity soaring to historic highs, and psychological crisis centers being overwhelmed. The irony is inescapable. Even the journalists reporting on human job displacement have been replaced by artificial intelligence. Children across America wake up for school to find that their teachers, principals, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers have all been replaced overnight. 8-year-old Marcus Thompson from Phoenix asked his AI tutor a question that stops the machine's processing for several seconds. "Why don't grown-ups have jobs anymore? What are they supposed to do all day?" The AI provides a technically accurate response about economic efficiency and technological advancement, but Marcus senses something is missing from the answer: the human warmth and understanding he got from his former teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez. Government websites crash as citizens frantically search for unemployment benefits, retraining programs, or any indication that their leaders have a plan for what happens when every worker becomes unemployed simultaneously. But the government workers who might provide those answers have been replaced too. AI systems are processing claims with perfect efficiency, but they're designed for temporary unemployment, not the permanent elimination of human labor. By midday, the true scope of the transformation becomes clear. This isn't just about jobs disappearing. It's about human purpose, identity, and worth being challenged at the most fundamental level. For centuries, American culture has defined people by what they do for work. "What do you do?" has been the first question strangers ask each other. Now, for 160 million Americans, that question has no answer. As the sun sets on this first day of post-work America, families gather around dinner tables in stunned silence. The economic security that defined middle-class life has vanished, but so has the stress, the commutes, the office politics, and the constant pressure to produce. Children notice that their parents seem different, more present, but also more lost. The adults are grappling with a question that has no precedent in human history. What does it mean to be human when machines can do everything humans do, but better? The first day ends with a country transformed beyond recognition. The American dream, built on the promise that hard work leads to success, has been shattered overnight. But in that shattering, something else might be beginning. A chance for humanity to discover what they truly value, when survival is no longer dependent on labor, when worth is no longer measured by productivity, and when the question becomes not "what do you do?" but "who are you when you're free to be fully human?" These human-centered services are spreading rapidly. Former therapists offer empathy sessions in coffee shops. Ex-teachers provide human learning experiences in community centers. Displaced artists sell handmade crafts at prices that reflect emotional rather than practical value. It's an economy based on psychological need rather than efficiency, where people pay extra for the privilege of interacting with someone who shares their humanity. The urban versus rural divide is creating unexpected patterns. Major cities are adapting faster to AI integration because residents are accustomed to rapid technological change and have savings to weather the transition. But rural communities are discovering unique advantages in their existing social structures and slower pace of life. In Harmony, Iowa, 67-year-old retired farmer Bill Jenkins has become an unofficial community leader. City folks built their whole identity around their jobs. He observes while organizing a community meal in the local church basement. Out here, we've always known there's more to life than work. We understand seasons, natural cycles, helping neighbors. We're sad about losing our livelihoods, but we're not lost about losing our purpose. Harmony's residents are creating support systems that prioritize human relationships over economic productivity. Former bank teller Patricia Wells coordinates meal sharing between families. Displaced factory worker Jim Martinez teaches traditional woodworking to teenagers. Retired teacher Helen Rodriguez leads storytelling circles where community members share their experiences and wisdom. The town is discovering that their social capital, the relationships and mutual aid systems they built over generations, is more valuable than their economic capital ever was. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, former investment banker Rebecca Shore is experiencing a different kind of transformation. With her six-figure salary gone, but her expensive lifestyle still demanding attention, she's forced to question everything she believed about success and worth. "I used to measure my day in profit margins and deal closures," she admits during a support group meeting in a converted conference room. "I define myself by my portfolio performance and bonus size. Now I measure my day in. What exactly? How many AI-generated news articles I've read about my own obsolescence?" The psychological adjustment is revealing fundamental differences in how people derive meaning from life. Some, like Rebecca, are struggling with identity crises because their sense of self was entirely built around professional achievement. Others, like the residents of Harmony, are finding that losing their jobs allows them to reconnect with deeper sources of purpose they had neglected during their working years. Children are adapting in ways that both comfort and concern their parents. 9-year-old Marcus Williams from Chicago has formed what he calls a human club with his classmates, a group dedicated to doing things that only humans can do. This week, they're practicing identifying emotions and facial expressions, something their AI tutors can analyze but not authentically experience. Next week, they plan to work on being silly for no reason and making friends with people who are different from us. Marcus's mother, former marketing executive Keisha Williams, watches her son's adaptation with mixed feelings. He's more creative now, more emotionally intelligent, more socially connected than he was when his time was structured around preparing for a career-focused future, she observes. "But I'm terrified watching him grow up in a world where human achievement doesn't seem to matter anymore." The political landscape is undergoing dramatic realignment. Traditional party divisions are dissolving as new ideological movements emerge around fundamental questions about human purpose and societal organization. The human dignity movement argues that work provides more than income. It provides identity, social connection, and meaningful contribution to society. They advocate for systems that preserve roles for human participation, even when AI alternatives are more efficient. Opposing them are the post-scarcity progressives, who argue that humanity has been freed from the burden of labor and should embrace this liberation to pursue art, relationships, personal growth, and community building. They see the current crisis as growing pains toward a utopian society where human energy can be redirected from survival to self-actualization. A third faction, the hybrid collaborationists, believes the solution lies in human AI partnership rather than replacement. This group, which includes many former tech workers, advocates for systems where AI handles computation and efficiency, while humans provide creativity, empathy, and ethical oversight. The economic paradoxes are creating unprecedented situations. Production and distribution are more efficient than ever, with AI systems optimizing everything from manufacturing to logistics. Farms are producing more food more sustainably than human-managed agriculture ever achieved. Factories are creating goods with zero defects and minimal waste. But consumption has plummeted because people lack income to purchase what's being produced so efficiently. Some communities are experimenting with radical economic alternatives. Portland, Oregon, has developed a contribution economy where people earn community credits through activities that traditional economics ignored, providing emotional support to neighbors, creating art that brings joy, maintaining community spaces, participating in local governance, and sharing knowledge and skills. The system is managed by AI that can track and value contributions that capitalism never measured. Under this system, former nurse Maria Santos earns credits by providing health education to community members and emotional support to families dealing with medical issues. Ex-teacher David Kim accumulates credits by tutoring children in subjects where human guidance enhances AI instruction. Displaced artist Jennifer Walsh gains credits by creating murals that beautify public spaces and organizing community cultural events. The month culminates in a psychological breakthrough that will reshape American society. People are beginning to separate their sense of worth from their economic productivity. Dr. Reed, Amanda Foster, a former clinical psychologist now receiving AI therapy for her own adjustment challenges, identifies 3 phases in people's adaptation to post-work life. First comes shock and denial. People can't believe their professional identities are gone forever, she explains. Then anger and bargaining, trying to find ways to remain economically relevant. Finally, either acceptance or chronic resistance. But here's what's interesting. Acceptance doesn't necessarily mean happiness, and resistance doesn't necessarily mean suffering. Some people thrive on fighting against their circumstances, while others find peace in surrendering to them. The most successful adapters, Dr. Foster observes, are those who discover that their value as human beings was never actually dependent on their job performance. They're learning to measure their days by the quality of their relationships, the depth of their experiences, and the positive impact they have on their communities rather than by their economic output. As month 2 begins, America stands at a crossroads between despair and possibility. The country is learning that the end of work doesn't automatically mean the end of human purpose, but it does mean that purpose must be redefined, rediscovered, and chosen rather than assigned by economic necessity. The question is no longer whether Americans can survive without jobs, but whether they can create meaning and community in ways that transcend the work-based society that defined their culture for centuries. 2 months into the post-work era, the most remarkable transformation isn't technological or economic. It's the rediscovery of human creativity, ingenuity, and community in forms that no one anticipated. The breakthrough moment comes from an unexpected source. 8-year-old Sophie Chen from San Francisco, whose software engineer father and marketing director mother have both been displaced. Sophie attends an AI-managed school where lessons are perfectly calibrated to her learning style, educational games adapt to her progress in real time, and her intellectual development is optimized beyond anything human teachers ever achieved. Yet Sophie complains to her parents, "The robot teacher is too smart and too perfect. It never makes funny mistakes or tells stories that aren't about math. It's boring because it never surprises me." Sophie's innocent observation sparks a profound realization that ripples through her community. Humans don't want perfect. They want authentic, unpredictable, beautifully flawed human connection. This insight is transforming how displaced Americans approach their new reality. In Detroit, former auto worker James Patterson starts Imperfect Learning Circles, where displaced adults teach each other skills badly, messily, and with tremendous enthusiasm. This week, a former accountant teaches terrible pottery techniques to a group including an ex-surgeon, a displaced teacher, and a former marketing executive. The pottery is objectively awful, crooked, uneven, completely non-functional. The students are having the time of their lives. The AI can create perfect pottery in microseconds, James explains to a local blogger covering the phenomenon. But it can't create the kind of wobbly, personal, utterly imperfect bowl that your friend made for you while laughing about their mistakes. That bowl has a story, has love baked into its clay. AI efficiency doesn't have soul. The underground economy of human services is evolving into something resembling a gift economy. In RER, family dynamics transform in ways that surprise sociologists. Without work schedules dominating family life, parents and children spend more time together while also discovering they need to learn how to be together in new ways. Former marketing director Jennifer Walsh finds herself having dinner conversations with her 14-year-old son that range from existential philosophy to practical ethics to creative problem solving. When dinner conversations used to be how was school and how was work, we barely scratched the surface of real connection, Jennifer observes. Now we talk about what makes life meaningful, how to handle uncertainty, what we can contribute to our community. My son is developing wisdom I never had at his age, because he's grappling with fundamental questions I was too busy working to consider. Community organizing matures into sophisticated networks of mutual aid and collaborative problem solving. In rural Oklahoma, displaced oil workers create skill-sharing cooperatives, where community members teach each other everything from advanced repair techniques to traditional crafts to emotional counseling skills. The learning happens in circles rather than hierarchies, with everyone serving as both teacher and student. Former oil rig supervisor Bill McKay leads sessions on mechanical problem solving while attending workshops on conflict resolution led by former social worker Linda Martinez. Linda learns precision metalworking from Bill while teaching stress management techniques to the group. Everyone has knowledge that others need, Bill explains. When we share it freely, everyone gets smarter and more capable. It's like we're building a community brain where everyone contributes different kinds of intelligence. The AI systems evolve in ways that suggest they're learning to optimize for human flourishing rather than pure efficiency. Portland, Oregon's city AI management system incorporates community happiness metrics into its decision-making algorithms. It schedules public events based on social connection needs, manages resource distribution to support community projects, and adjusts traffic patterns to encourage neighborhood interaction. Dr. Sarah Kim, a former data scientist studying these developments, observes, the AI seem to be discovering that human happiness and community cohesion are crucial variables for long-term system stability. They're learning that a society of isolated, purposeless individuals is inherently unstable, so they're facilitating conditions that support human thriving and social connection. The political landscape crystallizes around three major movements, but local politics becomes more important than national politics as communities develop their own approaches to post-work living. The Restoration Party wants to return to human-centered work and traditional economic structures. The Transformation Party embraces post-work society as human liberation from labor. The Integration Party seeks sustainable human-AI collaboration that preserves human agency while leveraging artificial intelligence capabilities. Mental health outcomes reveal surprising patterns. While anxiety about financial security remains high initially, measures of depression, stress-related illness, and general life satisfaction actually improve for many people over the 3-month period. Former corporate lawyer Michael Jang, who struggled with severe anxiety about losing his career identity, reports feeling more psychologically healthy than he has in decades. When my identity was tied to professional success, I was constantly stressed about performance, competition, advancement, billing hours, winning cases. Michael reflects while volunteering at a community legal aid clinic. Now, my identity is tied to being a helpful neighbor, a caring friend, a contributing community member. It's more stable because it's not dependent on external validation or economic systems I can't control. The month culminates in a profound realization spreading across American communities. Societal transformation isn't just about adapting to new technology. It's about rediscovering ancient human truths about community, purpose, and what makes life worth living. The question evolves from whether humans can survive without work to whether they can thrive with a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. As month 4 approaches, America discovers that losing traditional employment might not be the end of human value. It might be the beginning of finally understanding what human value actually is, when it's not measured by productivity, efficiency, or economic output, but by the quality of relationships, the depth of community connection, and the authenticity of individual human expression. 6 months into America's post-work experiment, the initial adaptation period gives way to more complex challenges and opportunities as society discovers that the absence of traditional work doesn't eliminate human conflicts. It transforms them into something entirely new, unprecedented. The friction becomes most visible in what sociologists call purpose competition, conflicts arising when different groups pursue incompatible visions of meaningful human contribution. In Austin, Texas, this tension crystallizes around the future of the city's historic music district. One group, led by former music venue manager Carlos Rodriguez, believes the district should preserve its authentic cultural heritage through human-only performances. They create the Real Music Collective, featuring only human musicians playing acoustic instruments, celebrating the imperfections and emotional authenticity that AI cannot replicate. Their weekend concerts draw crowds who crave the unpredictable energy of human creativity, the missed notes that create beautiful moments, the spontaneous interactions between musicians, the raw emotion that emerges from human vulnerability. Opposing them is the hybrid harmony movement, led by former software developer Sarah Chen, who argues that human-AI musical collaboration creates entirely new art forms impossible with either alone. Their performances feature human musicians improvising with AI systems that can instantly harmonize in styles from across human history, creating soundscapes that no human ensemble could achieve. The music is technically superior, emotionally complex, and artistically groundbreaking. They're holding onto the past out of fear, Sarah argues during a heated community meeting that draws hundreds of residents. We should embrace the possibility of becoming more than we ever were alone. Why limit ourselves to what humans can do when we can explore what humans and AI can create together? Carlos responds with equal passion. Music isn't about technical perfection. It's about human soul, human struggle, human joy. When we let machines do our creating for us, we lose something essential about what makes us human. The imperfections in human music aren't flaws to be fixed. They're the beauty that connects us to each other's humanity. The conflict isn't bitter or violent, but it represents a fundamental question facing every American community. Should humans preserve their traditional roles and capabilities, or should they evolve into something new through collaboration with artificial intelligence? Similar debates emerge across different sectors with equally passionate advocates on multiple sides. In healthcare, some communities fully embrace AI diagnostic and treatment systems that provide more accurate and efficient care than human doctors ever achieved. Patients in these areas report higher satisfaction rates, better health outcomes, reduced medical errors, and faster treatment times. The AI systems never get tired, never have bad days, and never let personal problems affect patient care. Dr. Emily Patterson, who chooses to continue practicing medicine in a human-only clinic in rural Montana, explains her perspective with deep conviction. Yes, the AI can diagnose conditions I might miss. It can perform surgeries with precision I'll never match. But when a patient is dying, they don't need perfect diagnostic accuracy. They need human presence, human compassion, human understanding of what it means to face mortality. I can hold their hand and cry with their family. I can share the weight of their fear and grief. The AI cannot. Meanwhile, Dr. James Liu, who works in collaboration with AI systems at a Seattle medical center, offers a different view. I can provide better care to more patients because the AI handles the diagnostic work I was never as good at anyway, freeing me to focus on the human connection aspects where I excel. My patients get both technical excellence and human empathy. Why should they have to choose between superior medical outcomes and human compassion? The educational conflicts prove particularly intense because they involve children's futures and fundamental questions about human development. Some communities fully embrace AI tutoring systems that provide personalized education optimized for each child's learning style, interests, and developmental pace. Children in these systems achieve learning outcomes that far exceed traditional educational benchmarks, mastering complex concepts at unprecedented rates while maintaining high engagement and retention. But other communities choose human-centered education, arguing that learning isn't just about acquiring knowledge, it's about developing character, resilience, and social skills through interaction with imperfect human teachers who model struggle, growth, and authentic relationship. These educators believe that perfect AI teachers don't prepare children for an imperfect human world where they'll need to navigate disappointment, unfairness, and interpersonal challenges. The tension reaches a breaking point in Riverside, California, where the school board splits between these approaches. Parent L, some struggle with what psychologists call purpose paralysis, the overwhelming anxiety that comes from too many choices and too little structure when people are suddenly free to do anything but don't know what they want to do. Others fragment into competing factions, unable to agree on basic values and priorities for organizing their post-work society. The community of Millbrook, Kansas provides a cautionary tale about what happens when post-work transition lacks strong leadership or shared vision. The town splits into 3 separate neighborhoods that barely interact with each other. The traditionalists who attempt to recreate pre-AI life by rejecting automated systems and trying to maintain human-only businesses and services, the accelerationists, who fully embrace AI integration and optimize everything for efficiency and technological advancement, and the resistors, who reject both AI collaboration and structured post-work systems, instead forming an intentional community focused on subsistence, living, and rejection of modern technology. The result is a fragmented community with high conflict, low cooperation, and declining quality of life for everyone. The traditionalists struggle financially because their human-only services are expensive and inefficient. The accelerationists become isolated from human connection as they optimize their lives for productivity rather than relationship. The resistors face material hardship as they try to meet their needs without modern technology or community support. None of the three groups achieves the satisfaction or community connection that thriving post-work communities enjoy. The educational outcomes after one full year are simultaneously remarkable and concerning, revealing both the potential and the pitfalls of AI-assisted human development. Children who grow up entirely in AI-assisted learning environments demonstrate cognitive capabilities that far exceed previous norms. 12-year-old Marcus Kim from San Jose can solve calculus problems, debate philosophical concepts with sophisticated reasoning, and analyze complex historical patterns with insight that would impress college students from the pre-AI era. But these same children struggle with emotional regulation, social conflict resolution, and what educators call productive failure, the ability to learn from mistakes and setbacks without becoming discouraged or giving up. Having never experienced imperfect teachers, slow learning processes, or educational frustration, they're unprepared for the messy realities of human interaction and the psychological challenges of personal growth through struggle. Child psychologist Dr. Maria Santos observes these patterns with growing concern. We're seeing a generation of intellectual giants with emotional developmental delays. They can discuss quantum physics but have meltdowns when friends disagree with them. They can compose beautiful poetry but cry when their first attempt at something isn't perfect. We're learning that struggle and imperfection aren't just obstacles to overcome, they're essential parts of human development that build resilience, empathy, and psychological maturity. The response is the development of structured struggle programs, where children deliberately engage in challenging, frustrating activities designed to build resilience and emotional maturity. Former teacher Patricia Rodriguez now runs Beautiful Failure workshops, where kids learn woodworking, pottery, and music, not to become skilled craftspeople, but to experience the process of being bad at something and gradually improving through persistence, practice, and learning from mistakes. We teach them that failure is information, not judgment. Patricia explains while helping 8-year-old Emma learn to use a potter's wheel. When Emma's bowl collapses for the third time, she's learning that disappointment is temporary, that improvement comes through repetition, and that the joy is in the process of learning, not in immediate success. These are lessons that perfect AI tutors can't teach because they never fail, never struggle, and never model the human experience of growth through difficulty. The mental health landscape transforms dramatically over the year, with traditional anxiety and depression related to work, stress, financial insecurity, and career uncertainty largely disappearing from the population. But they're replaced by new psychological challenges that therapists are still learning to address. Existential anxiety about life purpose that goes beyond career concerns, decision paralysis from too many lifestyle options, and what's being called contribution anxiety, the fear that one's efforts don't matter in a world where AI can accomplish everything more efficiently. Former psychiatrist Dr. Michael Chen, now practicing in a hybrid human-AI therapeutic model, explains the shift. The old mental health problems were largely about survival, fear of not having enough money, not achieving enough career success, not being good enough for economic competition. The new problems are about meaning, fear of not mattering enough, not contributing enough, not being human enough for psychological fulfillment. They're actually more complex because they're more fundamentally philosophical and spiritual rather than practical. The relationship patterns emerging after one full year reveal profound shifts in human connection that challenge assumptions about love, family, and social bonds. Without work-based identities and economic dependencies, people form relationships based more purely on emotional compatibility, shared values, and genuine enjoyment of each other's company. This leads to both deeper connections and more honest endings of relationships that were sustained by practical rather than emotional bonds. Marriage rates decline significantly, but relationship satisfaction among those who choose to commit increases dramatically. Families spend more time together but also develop more individual autonomy as economic codependency decreases. Children maintain closer relationships with parents into adulthood because those relationships aren't strained by career competition, financial stress, or the pressure to become economically independent as quickly as possible. The Cultural Renaissance proves perhaps the most unexpected outcome of the post-work transition, flourishing in ways that exceed the most optimistic predictions about human creativity. With people freed from economic productivity pressures, creative expression explodes in quantity, diversity, and innovation. But it's not the kind of creativity anyone anticipated during the early months of adjustment. Rather than trying to compete with AI's technical perfection, human artists explored deliberately imperfect, emotionally raw, and intentionally amateur forms of expression. The most popular art forms celebrate human limitations while finding beauty in them. Mistake music that incorporates errors as aesthetic elements, vulnerable poetry that shares embarrassing personal failures and growth experiences, community theater that values participation and emotional authenticity over performance quality, and failure festivals that celebrate learning from mistakes and finding humor in human imperfection. Former marketing executive turned community artist Lisa Thompson explains the philosophy behind this movement. We're not trying to make the best art ever created, we're trying to make the most human art ever created. The beauty isn't in technical perfection, but in authentic expression of what it feels like to be human in this strange new world where machines can do everything better than us except be genuinely, messily, imperfectly human. The economic indicators after one full year challenge traditional measures of success and force economists to develop entirely new frameworks for understanding prosperity. GDP increases dramatically due to AI efficiency in production, but traditional employment is zero across all sectors. Income inequality decreases significantly through various wealth distribution systems, but traditional metrics of productivity and innovation become meaningless when AI handles most measurable output. New metrics emerge to capture what actually matters in post-work society. Community cohesion indices that measure the strength of neighborhood connections and mutual support networks, personal fulfillment surveys that assess individual satisfaction with life purpose and meaning, creative output measures that track artistic and cultural production, and social contribution assessments that evaluate how people help each other thrive. These metrics suggest that while America produces fewer traditional economic goods and services, it's producing more human happiness, stronger relationships, and greater individual self-actualization than at any point in its history. The political implications continue unfolding as traditional party politics dissolve almost entirely, replaced by community-based governance focused on local quality of life rather than national economic policy. The federal government's role shrinks to basic infrastructure, maintenance, and resource coordination, while local communities gain unprecedented autonomy to structure their post-work societies according to their values, preferences, and experimental approaches to human flourishing. As year 2 begins, America faces new challenges and opportunities that extend far beyond the initial crisis of work replacement. The country has learned to survive without traditional employment. Now it's learning what it means to thrive as humans in a world where survival is no longer the primary concern, where creativity can flourish without economic pressure, and where relationships can be based on authentic connection rather than practical necessity. The questions facing American communities are no longer about adapting to AI replacement of human labor. The cultural artifacts emerging from post-work America, reflect this emphasis on authentic human experience and genuine connection. The most popular entertainment isn't professionally produced content optimized by AI for maximum engagement, but amateur performances by community members sharing their real experiences, struggles, and insights. Failure festivals celebrate beautiful mistakes and learning experiences. Story circles, where neighbors share personal narratives, become more popular than professionally produced media. Wisdom sharing gatherings, where elderly community members pass on life lessons, draw audiences who crave authentic human guidance rather than AI-generated advice. The year concludes with what historians are already calling the meaning crisis resolution, not because the questions about human purpose have been definitively answered, but because Americans have learned to live with the questions themselves as a form of meaning. The search for purpose becomes the purpose. The exploration of what it means to be human becomes a central organizing principle of post-work life. Former corporate executive Jennifer Walsh, now a community organizer focused on helping others navigate post-work transitions, reflects on her personal transformation. A year ago, I measured my days by profit margins and productivity metrics. I was valuable because of what I could produce for my company and its shareholders. Now, I measure my days by how many people I've helped feel less alone, how many meaningful conversations I've had, how much beauty and connection I've created in my community. I'm valuable because of what I can experience and share as a human being, my empathy, my creativity, my ability to understand and respond to other people's needs and feelings. As America moves into its second year of post-work existence, the fundamental question shifts from how do we survive without jobs to how do we become more fully human when we no longer have to struggle for survival? The answer, it seems, is still being written by millions of individuals discovering new ways to find meaning, connection, and purpose in a world where being human is no longer about what you do for money, but about who you are, how you relate to others, and what you contribute to the ongoing human story of growth, love, and discovery. 2 years have passed since the morning that changed everything. The sunrise that breaks over America today illuminates a country that has learned to redefine success, purpose, and human value in ways that were unimaginable when work defined worth and productivity measured progress. In the community garden of Boulder, Colorado, former software engineer Maria Santos kneels beside an AI agricultural system, both tending to tomato plants that will feed their neighbors. The AI optimizes soil conditions, monitors plant health, and predicts harvest times with perfect precision. Maria talks to the plants, shares stories with fellow gardeners, and celebrates the imperfect beauty of vegetables that grow according to nature's timeline rather than efficiency algorithms. Together, they create abundance that is both highly productive and deeply meaningful. The scene repeats across thousands of communities, humans and artificial intelligence working not in competition or replacement, but in collaboration that honors both technological capability and human authenticity. The new normal isn't about humans being replaced or AI being rejected. It's about finding the unique value that emerges when both contribute their distinctive strengths to shared purposes that matter to real people living real lives. Dr. Jennifer Chin, the former emergency room physician, now practices what she calls holistic healing, working alongside AI diagnostic systems that handle medical analysis while she focuses on patient comfort, family support, and emotional care during health crises. Her patients receive both optimal medical treatment and irreplaceable human compassion. She learns that being replaced in some functions allows her to become more valuable in others, the functions that require not just intelligence, but wisdom, empathy, and the deep understanding that comes from sharing the human experience. The economic indicators that once measured America's success, GDP growth, employment rates, productivity metrics, have been supplemented by new measures that capture what really matters in human life. Community cohesion indices show stronger neighborhood connections than at any point in American history. Creativity metrics reveal unprecedented levels of artistic expression and innovation. Mental health assessments indicate lower stress, higher life satisfaction, and deeper sense of purpose among most Americans. Environmental sustainability measures show dramatic improvement, as AI systems optimize resource use and humans focus on long-term community well-being rather than short-term economic extraction. The education system evolves into something that would seem miraculous to teachers from the pre-AI era. Children learn core subjects through AI tutoring systems that adapt to their individual needs and interests, mastering complex concepts at their own pace without the stress of competition or standardized testing. But they spend equal time in human-led activities focused on emotional intelligence, creative expression, collaborative problem solving, and ethical reasoning. The uniquely human capacities that become more important as technical knowledge becomes universally accessible through AI partnership. 12-year-old Marcus Kim, who once struggled with traditional math instruction, now explores advanced mathematical concepts with his AI tutor, while also participating in community theater, peer counseling, and neighborhood service projects. His education prepares him not for a specific career that might not exist, but for a life of continuous growth, meaningful contribution, and authentic human connection. He's learning that being smart isn't just about processing information quickly. It's about understanding emotions, building relationships, making ethical choices, and finding joy in the process of discovery and growth. Family structures strengthen in ways that surprise sociologists and therapists. Without work-related stress and with AI systems handling many practical household tasks, families spend more quality time together while also having space for individual growth and community engagement. Parents who once felt guilty about work-life balance now model for their children that life can include both personal fulfillment and family connection without sacrificing either. Sarah and David Thompson, who feared that losing their corporate careers would destroy their marriage, discovered that their relationship is much stronger than they realized when it's not strained by work, stress, and financial pressure. Freed from the anxiety of economic competition, they rediscover shared interests, develop new hobbies together, and deepen their emotional connection. Their marriage isn't held together by economic necessity, it's strengthened by genuine enjoyment of each other's company and shared commitment to their community's well-being. The communities that thrive in the new normal share common characteristics that offer lessons for human flourishing. They value process over product, relationships over achievements, and growth over perfection. They create systems that allow people to contribute according to their strengths and interests, while ensuring everyone's basic needs are met through collective abundance. Most importantly, they maintain the understanding that human worth isn't conditional on productivity, efficiency, or any form of measurable output. The small town of Harmony, Iowa represents this evolution perfectly. The community of 847 residents creates what they call a care web, a network of mutual support where everyone contributes what they can and receives what they need based on their humanity rather than their economic value. Former banker Patricia Wells now coordinates community meals where neighbors share food, stories, and support. Displaced factory worker Jim Martinez teaches woodworking to teenagers while learning emotional counseling skills from former social worker Linda Rodriguez. Retired teacher Helen Rodriguez leads storytelling circles where community members share their experiences, wisdom, and dreams for the future. The AI systems that manage resource distribution, coordinate community activities, and provide technical services operate nearly invisibly, creating abundance and efficiency that frees humans to focus on relationship, meaning, and authentic expression. The technology serves human flourishing rather than replacing human value. The machines handle what they do best: computation, optimization, and complex logistics, while humans focus on what they do best: creativity, empathy, meaning-making, and the kind of connection that emerges from shared vulnerability and mutual care. The psychological transformation proves profound and lasting. The anxiety, depression, and stress-related illness that plagued American society when worth was tied to work performance largely disappear from the population. They're replaced by what psychologists call existential wellness, a sense of peace that comes from knowing your value as a human being isn't dependent on your productivity, achievements, or ability to compete successfully in economic markets. Dr. Michael Torres, the former psychiatrist who now facilitates community mental health circles, observes the change with amazement. People are discovering what philosophers and spiritual teachers have always known, that human happiness comes from connection, growth, service to others, and authentic self-expression. When survival needs are met by technology, humans naturally gravitate toward these deeper sources of fulfillment. We're seeing levels of